Hi, Dominic. Hi, Megan.
Hi, Raghav.
Hey,
How are you?
Raghav.
Hope you guys are doing well.
Yes, thank you. How are you?
Very good, very good. So, Dominic, Megan, we have about couple of them just to get some questions and get more engagement. We have added them on this call, on this conversation. So, Meghna would basically moderate the entire conversation. Over to you, Meghna.
Yeah, just a little quick introduction for the attendees. We have our guests today, Professor Dominic and Meghan Wood. Professor Dominic serves as a Program Faculty Director at the Masters in Business Analytics program at University at Buffalo School of Management. With over 6 years of experience, he has been instrumental in integrating AI and machine learning into business education. As a clinical assistant professor, he teaches a range of cutting-edge courses, including predictive analytics, AI, and cybersecurity. Next is Meghan Wood. Meghan Wood is the Director of Recruitment and Admissions at the University of Buffalo, managing the enrollment strategy for 25 graduate programs, including MBA and MS degrees. With nearly 2 decades of expertise, Meghan leads a team who's responsible for admissions, marketing, and student engagement. So I am sure that their insights will be extremely helpful in understanding how your life would be at the University at Buffalo. To help you understand even better, we have invited two Futurense alumni, Tanveer and Tanya. So any questions you have, we have a very knowledgeable panelist today. Over to you, Megan.
Thank you so much, Meghna. Hello, welcome, and good evening. We appreciate your interest, and I'm excited to share today our presentation highlighting the University of Buffalo MS in Business Analytics program. And this presentation contains specific details for Futurense applicants. So we have a lot of detail to cover today, many slides. So feel free to ask any questions. We'll handle those at the end during the Q&A. So over the course of today's session, we'll discuss the MSBA program and pathways. We'll take a closer look at what we refer to action learning opportunities, which enable you to put theory into practice and differentiate yourself in the job market. It's something that the University of Buffalo does very, very well. Also, what makes UB in Buffalo a great place to earn your degree and expand your network. We'll also discuss career preparation and how to utilize the vast and terrific resources provided by our Career Resource Center. Additionally, you'll have access to the university's Career Center, so admitted students have access to 2 career centers. We'll discuss admissions requirements and deadlines, tuition and fees, and how to stay connected with us throughout your entire admissions journey. So, excuse me, I wanted to give a little bit of history and information on the University of Buffalo School of Management. The school was founded in 1923, so we have over 100 years of being in the business of business. We are an AACSB accredited school, which is the gold standard in graduate management education. Of more than 16,000 business schools worldwide, only about 6% are accredited by AACSB International, so we're proud to be in that company. We are the #1 ranked business school in the State University of New York, SUNY system. We also have a top 25 public MBA ranking by Forbes, and we're also ranked the #1 New York Public University for Research and Development by the Wall Street Journal. So I wanted to give you a little bit of insight into what the UB MSBA incoming class of 2024 looked like. 37% were female, 63% were male, about 3/4 were international, and the average undergraduate GPA was a little under 3.3, and our average work was 2.75 years. Now, work experience isn't required to apply to the MSBA program, but as you can see for last year's enrolled class, the average was 2.75. But some students brought 0 work, some students brought 10. That was kind of an outlier with 10. We had 7 countries represented, and we had a variety of undergraduate backgrounds that enrolled in our class of 2024. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Professor Sellitto to talk a little bit more about the curriculum and information there. Professor Sellitto.
Hi, everyone. It's great to, I guess, virtually sort of see you as the attendees here. And thanks for joining us. As was mentioned at the beginning, I'm Dominic. I'm the professor in charge of the MS in Business Analytics program. But you know, I know a lot of you are currently working professionals, and you know, I come from a background that is kind of similar, I think, to what a lot of you are, based on what I can see in, you know, applicants that we've had before. My background is actually in Big Four consulting. I worked with Deloitte as a technology risk consultant for a number of years, along with as a chief information security officer for a lot of organizations. And so I can definitely appreciate difficulty in making the decision to come to a graduate program or to think about a graduate program. And so, and you know, how sometimes when we have these sorts of conversations, it might seem like we're so totally locked in on just the academic side, but I want you to know that you can talk to us about that sort of stuff too. And that background is important. It's not just me talking, because it kind of leads directly into how me and the team here have worked to craft a curriculum for you that is really, really based on industry needs as opposed to sort of textbook learning. And so the idea behind this program, in terms of its overall kind of number of credit hours, is going to be very, very similar to a lot of the programs that you look at. You'll have a core set of courses that are immutable that you have to take. Then you'll have a series of these flex core courses where you have a little bit of control, that are focused on taking analytical baselines to the next level. Then one of the big things in our program that is different, I'd say, from a lot of other programs, is that we have this requirement that you apply the analytical knowledge that you gain through your cores and flex course through the lens of an applied domain course. That is something like a marketing analytics course, or a cybersecurity analytics course, or a financial analysis course, or any number of these applied domain courses that we have. Because at the end of the day, it's not enough just to know how to build a predictive model. You must know how to apply that predictive model through the lens of, well, an industry role that you might want to take on. And then finally, we've got your electives. And so you have three elective credits that you'll be able to kind of choose from a variety of different courses, based on what your career goals are. And yes, it is STEM. It's a STEM eligible STEM degree program. So just in case, I know that question always comes up, just to confirm, it is a STEM program. Now, a little bit about your courses. I won't dive super deep into these, but if you do have questions on them, please, just let us know. And we'll definitely be sure to kind of follow up on that with you. There's a core statistics course that you take. There is a data visualization course that you take that kind of that's really focused on Tableau. You'll also learn Power BI in other classes, so don't worry about that if you're more of a Power BI friend. And then you have this thing called the practicum, which I'll put a pin in right now. It's a capstone course, and I'll talk about it a little bit later on because it's its own kind of special thing. For your flex core, you get to choose between what we call our data modeling class, but it is model managerial process. So if you're talking to current students and you hear them say, we're taking data modeling, they're really referring to this MGG 633, which is all about focused business use cases of using data modeling techniques to help solve business problems. Prescriptive analytics and optimization, and predictive analytics, which a lot of folks tend to take as well. For your applied domain, I won't burn this to the ground either. There's a lot. You've got people analytics, marketing analytics. People analytics is an HR focused course. Supply chain analytics, cybersecurity analytics, healthcare analytics, sports analytics. There's a lot of domain options that you can really choose from, depending on which direction you want to go in. You know, we have these courses available. Some become more popular than others. And I'm sure the current students would be able to talk to you much, much more about their exposure and experience to some of these. You know, but there's a lot of them. And then your electives. This is where we're going to have the most challenge, I think. Because you have slots for 3 electives, and there are certainly more than 3 electives that are listed here. We have data warehousing, cloud data warehousing and data engineering, which is a course I teach. We have things like business forecasting, applied AI for managers, which I also teach. That's running the spring semester. We'll have cybersecurity focused courses, marketing courses, healthcare oriented courses. There's a lot of options here. And I think one of the biggest challenges for our students, it's a big problem, but is figuring out which 3 electives of these am I going to take? And which one am I really just not going to be able to fit in my schedule? To help, we have these our program does not have concentrations. Okay, you go to some programs, like for example, a lot of MBA programs have this, where you go in and you're like, I'm an MBA concentrating in analytics, and then your degree is like an MBA with analytics as a concentration. Every student that comes to the MSBA program, I'm gonna verbally underline and bold this. Every student that comes to the MSBA program graduates, when you confer your degree, with a Master of Science in Business Analytics, period. Not a Master of Science in Healthcare Analytics, not a Master of Science in Marketing Analytics, Master of Science in Business Analytics, period, right? There are no concentrations here, which means that you are free to choose any series of electives, any grouping of electives that you want. But I mentioned it's difficult, right? A lot of students find it difficult. So at the program level, we've put together these things that we'll call advisement pathways. These are just pathways we've seen students take, courses we've seen them choose in the past that have tied into certain outcomes they were looking for, right? And so like we have a lot of students that come in here and they look for a healthcare data analyst pathway. And so they'll take courses like healthcare analytics, or there's another one not listed here, seminar in IT health information systems, right? And there's also business of healthcare. And they'll take these as their flex core, predictive and prescriptive analytics, right? And so you kind of can get a sense based on these pathways, which are things that we talk about as we kind of get closer to the inevitable start of the program so that people can make the right decisions on courses, right? But that's for somebody who chose a healthcare data analyst. Another student may have chosen a different path. And I think the next slide is it supply chain? Yep. Another student that in the past that chose a different pathway wanted to be more on the operations management side, supply chain, operations management, all of that, right? So they took supply chain analytics, operations service management, production inventory planning, business forecasting, logistic management, right? At the end of the day, you don't have to choose these. You can still be a supply chain data analyst, even if you just took the healthcare courses. The reality of it is, when we talk about analytics, the tools, the techniques, the methodologies, the core foundational underpinnings of what you'll need to know in those career fields are being taught across every class that you take. But if you already know you want to be a supply chain operations person, you absolutely take supply chain analytics. That's what I would recommend. Right. And so these pathways only serve to help you in the decision-making process. They are not requirements or concentrations or anything, right? You could take the healthcare data analyst path and go and get a job in marketing analytics. Why? Because students do it all the time, because the core skill sets are the same. And we could just kind of cruise through. There's a financial data analyst pathway that's got the same stuff, right? Data engineer is really, really popular for a lot of students. And data scientist. The data scientist path now will have the AI course in it. And then I think we've got a couple more that are at the very end. Marketing, yeah. So depending on where you want to go, we have students that have been through the process before and can advise you on what courses we might recommend you choose. Yeah, so there's a lot. And we'll just scroll one more. Yep. Pathways, sports analytics, HR analytics. We've got AI courses now. A number of our students have already taken at least maybe one AI course that they might be able to, that some students might be able to discuss with you if they took it. There's another one coming up in spring. And so we're really into the generative AI. We've got a bunch of generative AI courses and a ton of work going on in that space as well. So again, those are just the guidelines, just really quick. And I know we just blasted through that, and it was a lot of slides in like 2 minutes. And the reality of it is that's purposeful. It's purposeful because I want you to look at the curricular map as you're going through, and I want you to not be totally biased by this thing that I said on a webinar. I want you to look at it and say, no, you know what? These classes look interesting, and those are the ones we take. Because of the other opportunities that we have to tie things together, which we'll refer to under the bucket of action learning here. Action learning is really this idea that we have these opportunities that are meant to mimic, right, or to give you exposure and experience within real world settings. Now, one thing that many of you will have a question about or will have noticed is that unlike some other master's programs that might be 2 years in length, we do not have an internship that is part of this MS Business Analytics program. There are a couple of reasons for that. The first reason is our program is, well, it's 1 year, right? It's the fall and the spring. I mean, and then the courses you would take prior in the summer session, right? And so there's not really too much time for all the coursework and an internship. So that's one. But two is, since the COVID pandemic happened, right, post 2021, we've seen a rapid decline in the availability of internships. And one of the challenges that was happening for a lot of programs that had internships as a core requirement in that short of a time frame is, as companies in the tech sector stopped offering internships to current students, right, our students were kind of stuck, right? They were having to do other projects that weren't maybe as meaningful and things like that. And so we made the decision to not make internship a part of this program and instead do this thing called the practicum, right? Which I'll talk about again in a little bit more detail in its own dedicated slide. But in addition to that, we also have case competitions that happen all throughout campus and beyond. There are national case competitions you can participate in. We also have this thing that's in the School of Management called the Projects Clinic, which you can apply for. It's like a job, right? And you do these consulting projects for local organizations. There are certification resources that you have throughout the campus through the libraries and things like that, and your different coursework that you can take to get these certifications to upskill. There are classes that are experiential in nature. And what I mean by experiential, I mean that we bring in real world use cases, or they're structured around these case studies that happen. And so there's a lot of these sort of things. And then we bolt it all together with these different workshops and conferences and hackathons that happen and entrepreneurship things through our what we call our Blackstone Launchpad. There's a lot that happens on campus that you can take advantage of that allows you to really, really get those current, right now, business experiences that will help you really jettison off your career to new heights. Now I can finally talk about the practicum. Okay, so part of your core requirement is this thing called the practicum, and it's one of those things where people see it on the website, they go, "Where's my internship?" And then they kind of get confused about the practicum. Okay, so like I mentioned, the internship, the days of the internship, at least in the United States, right, are not as fruitful as they once were pre-pandemic. And so the challenge was, how do we get students experiential learning, these actual internship-like experiences with real data, with real organizations, with real problems, without having to have internship be a requirement? And that's when we came up with this practicum. It's really a capstone class. It happens at the very, very end of your journey with us in the spring semester, right before you graduate. And it is designed to be a culmination of everything that you've learned. And basically, it is open-ended. What I mean when I say open-ended, I truly mean open-ended. You can do anything that you want as long as it's related to the core of business analytics, right? As long as you're demonstrating all of the things that you've learned throughout your time. And there's usually two core pathways that students follow. There's this experiential pathway, and there is this independent pathway. I'll talk about the experiential pathway first, and then I'll go over to the traditional independent pathway. So the experiential pathway is where the program leadership, myself and others, right, will work with organizations to get projects from them, right? So we work with a television network, and they give us data and a project and a problem statement, and some students work on that. We have AI-oriented ones where we're building educational support tools using artificial intelligence. There's a manufacturing organization that came to us this year and wanted us to work on, it's not that I don't know what the project is, I'm trying to describe it without breaking any NDAs. They want us to do something really fancy with predictive modeling, okay? And our students with some really advanced kind of predictive modeling techniques and generative AI. We have had in the past consumer insights firms that have reached out, and we have these projects. So there's a lot of these projects, and basically how it works is I send a form to you at the end of the fall semester with the list of all of the experiential projects, and you denote interest, provide a resume, and apply, right? And the project sponsors determine who gets to join those projects, right? So not everybody winds up in the project that they selected, but there's usually more than enough to go around. Nobody's ever been kind of left left out of experiential opportunities, at least to my knowledge. And you put this project that is all real data, all real problems, and then we go and present it to the executive leadership of that sponsoring company. And so it functions very similar to an internship, except it's an academic project. You're working with me, I'm supporting you throughout, right? And you have that whole sort of class structure around it, which is really, really cool. On the flip side of that, let's say you don't like any of the experiential projects, right? They're different every year because different companies have different problems, and once they're solved, right? And so let's say you don't like any of them. It's fine, right? You could take the independent pathway. The independent pathway is where you work with me to come up with your own project. And that could be anything, right? And we look and find the data. We see if we can get it from experts in industry, other faculty doing research in the area, et cetera, right? And you come up with your own sort of project and problem that you really want to solve to show off your knowledge, skill sets, and passion. And when I say open-ended, I really mean open-ended. Yes, there are things that are more standard, like financial analysis, S&P 500 and Dow index analysis. There are things like credit risk analysis using supervised learning. But then there's somebody who goes, you know what I want to do is I really want to build a data set that doesn't exist. And I go, okay, well, what's the topic? And the student said to me, UFOs. I said, UFOs, like flying saucers. She's like, well, yeah, but like unidentified flying objects. I said, well, what are you going to do? And they said, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to build this data set that doesn't really exist yet, right? I'm going to build it. I'm going to cobble together all of the reports going back 100 years. I'm going to build the data set. I'm going to geomap it. And I'm going to build a predictive model that I can use to predict the location of different incidents and sightings and things like that. And here are the technologies and the platforms and things like that I'm going to use. And I was like, are you excited about the project? Oh yeah, I'm absolutely excited. Then go for it, because you're demonstrating all of the skills, right? They were using Tableau, they were using Python packages, they were using generative AI for certain aspects of building the data set. It was impressive. And they go, well, I don't know if a company's going to like that. Here's the secret that a lot of people seem to miss. And I can say this having been on the lead of hiring panels for literally every organization I've ever worked for. I will take a candidate 10 times out of 10 that has demonstrated a passion for some project they worked on over somebody who just has gone through the motions because they thought it was the thing that I wanted to hear. If you're going to work for a marketing organization, yeah, of course, they may want to see kind of marketing projects and marketing experience and things like that. But I also want to see that you actually care about this, that this is your career field, that this is something you're excited about. And if the way you choose to demonstrate that is through the lens of some other topic, we'll make it work. We'll put it in your portfolio and we'll make it work for you. And it did for that student. They got a great job in the sector that they wanted to get, right? And they had that passionate project that allowed them to really dive deep and refine those skills. And so when I say open-ended, I mean open-ended. Now, of course, you can't just go and say, hey, I want to do my independent study on watching paint dry. Obviously, that's not going to be something in the realm, but as long as it meets the criteria, and I'll work with you on that, right? And I'll also work with you on the messaging for prospective employers so that when you go to present that to them, that passion really shines through. And so that's our practicum. It happens at the very end. It's something that, don't worry about it. We discuss it throughout the fall semester, and our friends on the call today may be able to shed some light if there are questions on kind of how that process has unfolded so far. Oh gosh, we have conferences, we have a ton of stuff that happens here. Every year we run an IT and analytics conference. We have poster competitions that you can present your research at. We have hackathons and different competitions in different technical sectors and areas where you can win prizes. There's a lot of opportunities that you have to go beyond the classroom, assuming you have any time to actually dive deeper into this. I think one of the biggest things in talking to some of our former students that are alumni that come back and are kind enough to let me buy them a coffee when they come back to visit is that they just wish that they had more time to engage with some of this stuff. And that's great, right? Because you can, even after you graduate, come back and still engage with us.
Thanks so much, Professor Sellitto. I'm going to talk about some more action learning opportunities that are more common for any of our full-time MBA and our MS students. So as Professor Sellitto mentioned, we have CoLab, which is our UB Startup and Innovation Collaboratory, which is powered by Blackstone Launchpad. It's a campus-based entrepreneurship and innovation center that empowers students to realize solutions for the global and local challenges of our time. It's really part startup incubator and part idea sharing center, and it connects students to mentors, events, funding, and experiences that cultivate skills and mindset to build successful companies or innovate competitively in careers within any organization. So it's not just entrepreneurs, it's not just people looking to start their own companies that use CoLab. We have a lot of our management students that are focused on CoLab opportunities because there's so many different resources and ways to utilize it. Additionally, we have the Projects Clinic. So this is an opportunity where you can work as a paid student in our Projects Clinic to really utilize the skills that you're learning and also make some money. These are generally short-term projects lasting 2 to 3 weeks, and they really offer you a great experience working with diverse organizations. And this is a list of some recent project partners, and the students that have worked on Projects Clinic have really done really well and built up a lot of credibility. So there's tons more opportunities coming forward. Also, we have many of our students that participate in our global programs. These are faculty-led short-term programs, and it allows you to prepare to lead in today's business world and develop global and diversity mindset that you'll need to succeed in any industry. All of our global and U.S. experiences include a credit-bearing virtual program, as well as optional travel to the program's destination. And as you can see here, this is a listing. We have some students right now in Africa. We have some students in Singapore over this winter break. So students have the opportunity to earn a micro-credential as well. I'd like to talk a little bit more about our UB community. So we have more than 293,000 UB alumni across 150 countries and more than 48,000 School of Management alumni across 87 countries. We're showing some images of some notable alums, but our students really become part of this huge forever network. And our UB alumni are really special. They're highly engaged with current students, participate in many networking events. They speak in classes and with clubs and serve on a variety of boards and panels. But students are often surprised when I say, hey, reach out to this alum, or our Career Resource Center connects them, or Professor Sellitto connects them, and they hear back from this alum. And it's really because that our alum are engaged and they really want to help current students. So we call this your forever network. Additionally, if you haven't already done so, you have the opportunity to reach out to a current MSBA student ambassador regarding their experience. In a little bit, you're going to hear from 2 of our awesome students, but highly encourage you to contact some of our student ambassadors. They also have virtual office hours that you can attend. So that's an opportunity now, if you haven't already done so, to take advantage of that. Additionally, the University at Buffalo provides a lot of ways to have fun, learn a new skill, and meet others. We offer more than 400 student clubs, in addition to a variety of other campus resources and activities. So the time that you're here goes really fast, but highly encourage you to get involved, explore, and make the most of your time on campus. Additionally, I just wanted to highlight some School of Management specific clubs and organizations. These are a mix of primarily graduate students, some have undergrad and grad students, and then some are more focused on undergrad. Buffalo is a great place to live. It offers affordable living well below the national average. While we're known for snow, if you dig a little deeper, you'll discover that our region enjoys 4 distinct seasons, each remarkable in its own right. So you get to experience fun in all seasons in a safe and well-planned city. So definitely, if you have a chance, scan this QR code to learn more about Buffalo. Our nickname is the City of Good Neighbors, but also, people are telling us we're one of the 10 best cities to buy an affordable home. We're one of the best cities for college students and graduates, and definitely one of the best places to live in the US. So it's a great place to be. Hopefully the students will talk a little bit more about that as well. Also, our airport is easily accessible and easy to navigate, offering economical flights around 1 hour to New York City, Boston, Philly, and Washington, D.C. Our world famous Niagara Falls is only 20 minutes by car, and Toronto's 90 minutes away. So not only is there so much to do within the city, but we're located close to a lot of other wonderful places to see. I also want to mention that UB is one of the top 25 institutions for hosting international students based on the Institute of International Education. So at this point, I want to turn it over to 2 of our current MSBA students, Tanya and Tanweer, to talk about their experiences within the MS in Business Analytics program. So guys, I'll let you decide who wants to go first.
So yeah, hi everyone. Good morning and evening, depending on where you are joining from. I hope that you all had a great New Year celebration. I welcome you all to this webinar and wish you the best for your journey. Thanks, Megan, Professor Dominic, and Futurense for giving me the opportunity to be here with you all. So before sharing my experience, just a little bit about myself and my background. My name is Tanvir. I am originally from Jharkhand, India. I completed my undergrad back in 2021, and since then, I have been working as a software developer until recently. I decided to pursue my MSBA from UB. It was because with time I got really passionate about data and business. Here at UB, I am working as a database developer in the campus mail and print services, which comes under the administrative services department. I'm also serving as a dean's student ambassador for the MSBA program. Megan was explaining, we have a lot of clubs to join. So I'm currently active member and volunteer at UB Data Analytics Club, UB MISA Club, as well as Product at UB Club. I'm also volunteering at the Next Level Conference, which is to take place here on 8th of Feb for the development and deployment of the conference website. Apart from that, until recently, I had also been working as a social work volunteer in organization that is UB chapter of Food Recovery Network. So that was pretty much about me. I welcome you all again and wish you the best. And thank you so much again for having me here. If you have any questions, please do let us know. We'll answer and try our best to answer it. Thank you.
And quick question before we turn it over to Tanya. Can you share quickly maybe some of your favorite classes or favorite experiences that you've had so far in the MSBA program?
Sure. So, I would like to talk about the data warehouse class. Since beginning, I was really interested in data scientist roles, and I really didn't have any proper exposure to what a data engineering role looks like or what kind of work it involves. Coincidentally, it was Professor Dominic's class, and in that class, we not only understood the data engineering concepts but also worked on projects, which was a great learning experience for me. Coincidentally, I am now interested in data engineering roles as well, so it was a great experience. So to talk about one of them. And then we also had generative AI class where built a project around RAG application. So that is one more. Yeah, so I enjoyed all of my classes, and that was my experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Tan. Tanya, could you share your experiences so far?
Sure. So before starting, I have one question to all the attendees over here. How many of you are coming from a non-coding background? Because I know when I was joining, thank you, Mayur, Prateek, for raising that hand, the Pragati. So guys, I am you, you are me. So the reason I asked this question is because whenever we hear business analytics and data analytics, the first question that comes to our mind is, my God, I don't know what is coding. And I come from the same background. So I'll just start with this. I took PCB, like physics, chemistry, biology in my 12th, and then I did biotechnology, bachelor's, and in fact, MTech also in biotechnology. The only computer science subjects I've studied was during my bachelor's of engineering. That was C++, basics of C, and I guess a little bit of coding that is used to pass the semester. That's it. That was just me. So coming down, how my journey shaped, why was I interested to pursue business analytics was specifically during my work journey. I have almost 5 years of experience as in market research and consulting as a consultant in the healthcare domain. So during that journey, I understood the importance of data and how this whole world and every single person is revolving around this one single four-lettered word, data. So that is how I landed up here, choosing MS in business analytics, and to answer a lot of unheard, suppressed questions for all the students over here. You need not require coding as your base for MS in business analytics. That's just a myth, and that is, I know, one of the scariest thing in your minds right now, that is this course too technical? Is this course really bad? Or I might flunk I might not be able to do this. And like how Tanvi just mentioned, like how you shape your journey. Like I was somebody who did not know coding, and I recently passed my semester with flying colors, and I did Python, I did cloud data warehousing, I did SQL. So all of this is like a part of your journey. And trust me, professors here are really nice. It's not because Dominic is here on the call. I'm just letting you all know professors are really amazing. They will guide you. They will see classroom. I would like to mention one thing. Classroom learning over here is a bit different from what we are learning in India. It is very practical. Like he will come, faculties will come here. They will tell you the real world application of what you're going to perform in work. I remember Dominic sharing us a lot of real world applications during the cloud data warehouse classes, like what he used to do when he was working in some of the consulting firms. So that is how you learn, okay, this is not just a subject, but how you are going to implement this at your workplace tomorrow. And this is how you will understand what you are going to learn. And this is true, like how, as Dominic mentioned, the most difficult part is to select your elective, because today I am sitting in front of you and I've yet not decided my fifth subject. I'm so confused about, should I take supply chain? Should I take social network analytics? It is so confusing because you get to explore a lot of things. Although I come from a healthcare background, even then, and I had this discussion almost 5 to 6 times with Dominic now, and in fact my academic counselor as well. So the experience, like if you ask me about my experience, I would not just say it's very nice. You will find it so engaging. And one thing Megan has absolutely mentioned it correct, that time flies. I even don't know where my first semester went. And I am like too energetic for my next semester. So it is very true. And of course, any questions, we guys are here. Megan is here, Dominic is here. So you can definitely ping us. If you have any questions, you can actually come here, or like just raise your hand. We're happy to answer them as well.
Thank you so much, Tanya. So we'll be sticking around at the end for Q&A, but I really appreciate Tanya and Tanya sharing their experiences so far. Thank you. So with that, I'd like to move on to career preparation and reiterate that the UB School of Management students have access to 2 career centers. Our School of Management Career Resource Center, which is located in the 3rd floor of the School of Management. You'll also hear us refer to it as a CRC. And you also have access to the university's Career Design Center. So the CRC offers lifelong career management skills through workshops and events, tools to develop competencies for winning interviews, access to a vast number and scope of employers. And the CRC team assists students with developing a career strategy and honing the tools needed for an effective job search. They provide personalized career guidance. In fact, each of our MS programs has a dedicated career advisor. So within the MSBA programs, our students work most closely with Kevin Thomas. And excuse me, students also have access to job postings as well as local and national career fairs. So both resources are great, having access to the CRC and also the Career Design Center. Both offices use a different platform, so you're able to post your resume and search jobs. The CRC uses a program called BizLink, and the Career Design Center has a program called Bullseye, which is Handshake, in case you're familiar with that. But before you even set foot on campus, the CRC is engaged and committed to your success by providing a career checklist, and that will happen in early June, probably. They work with you to develop your career strategy, personal brand, and hone the tools you'll need. If you haven't already checked out the career resource website, I encourage you to do so at management.buffalo.edu/career. Just as a public user, you'll have access to a lot of great resources already, and then they only, multiply once you're an admitted student. But I will encourage you to check out their resume template. It's really helpful. It is continually updated for job market and AI tools. So if you haven't already done so, definitely check out at least the resume template on the Career Resource Center website. And, you might start formulating your resume to look more closely like the Career Resource resume template, but it's really helpful. Our comprehensive career services resources offer personalized coaching, industry connections, and tools to help you navigate your career path from day one. Benefit from our robust employer network, career fairs, and workshops designed to help you land your dream job. As I mentioned, our Career Resource Center uses BizLink. And then our students, we also have a great bank of virtual power chats where you're able to connect with alumni and business leaders to ask any questions you have. And those are just a few opportunities out of tons of resources that are available to you through our own Career Resource Center in the School of Management, in addition to a variety of other resources available through the university's Career Design Center. With that, I'm going to ask Professor Sellitto to come back on and talk a little bit more about our 2023 MSBA career outcomes and how we're looking for the graduating class of 2024. Professor Sellitto?
Awesome. Yeah, so I just want to share a little bit of an anecdote before I dive into this. And I'm actually gonna, I think, accidentally answer a couple of the questions that are open right now as a result. You saw me go off camera there a little bit earlier while Tan was discussing his experiences, and I wanted to highlight why I went off camera. It's because I received 3 phone calls from students in the program this morning asking for help in course selection. And I was getting messages, so I wanted to reply to them to help them select their courses pretty quickly. So you can see that like our students are very engaged, right, in this, insofar as, and I don't like to make them wait. And so I figured a good opportunity for me to respond to this was just then. So we have a lot of engagement from our students, and that kind of ties into a lot of the things that they're discussing with us, right? Like career goals, right? Because the student I was talking to, they were like, hey, here's what I want to do. I can't decide between these 2 classes. What would you recommend? And I kind of was giving some resources to that, right? Because at the end of the day, the sky's really the limit. Our students will wind up in different career fields all across the board. The neat thing about business analytics is that it's not domain bound. You're not going into a degree that is like my background. My master's is in management information systems, right? That's really focused pretty corely on IT, right? And technology management and things like that. Whereas with business analytics, you could go and bolt that onto an existing MBA and become a more data-driven executive. You could go and say, no, I don't have that MBA, I don't have that background, but what I want to do is I want to be a data scientist. Okay, super cool, right? So the pathways for you are really vast, and that's why we have so many course options available that you can choose from, is because, well, the outcomes are so varied. And so we've got students that go to healthcare analytics firms like Austria, right? We have folks that go into manufacturing sector. You see Honeywell there. We have finance sector. You'll see HSBC and M&T Bank. We have consumer goods and consumer business and consumer retail sector. We've got a lot of students that wind up in data scientist roles at, say, like Walmart or in the telecom sector, right? And so it's all over the place where people wind up going and leveraging this, because data is useful for every career field. Right. And so at the end of the day, your training here is to become a data-driven leader, right? That's really what it is to be able to use data to make business decisions. Now, I know what you really care about. And what you really care about is, am I going to get a job, and is that job going to pay me good, right? And so and I respect that, right? At the end of the day, right, is the asterisk answer to that. Right now, you'll see we have 2023 outcomes, and you would be looking at your calendar and saying, but Dominic, it's 2025. Okay, fine. The way that our job stats work is there's a 6-month lag on graduation cycles, but before the Career Resource Center releases this year's career statistics, meaning our students that graduated in June, their career statistics will be launching within the next couple of days. And so once those are available, they'll be posted directly on our website. It's fully transparent, right? But in our past, 2023, I want to paint this picture for you, because if you've been following the news over the past couple of years, you would recognize 2023 as the year of the layoff in the tech sector, the year where nobody was hiring, the year where people were struggling to get jobs, right? And to paint a picture for you, even within that, right, 89% of our students in the MS Business Analytics program were gainfully employed. That includes sponsored roles, right? There are sponsorships happening, right? Companies will ebb and flow on whether they sponsor or don't sponsor and things like that, right? But these are most of our population is our students who are studying on visa and going out and launching their OPT 1 year with a 2-year extension for the full 3 years for a STEM program, right? And so to answer a question that we received there, do students in this program get the same OPT and CPT benefits as others? OPT, yes. CPT is for those who aren't as familiar with the never-ending acronyms of the U.S. Immigration system here. CPT stands for curricular practical training. That's really what we talk about when you talk about an internship. And like I mentioned earlier, the MSBA program, to keep its timeline down to 2 semesters, does not have the internship. In its place, right, in place of CPT, in place of an internship, you participate in the practicum, which are real problems with businesses. And so they're meant to mimic what an internship would provide you in terms of experience, but without you having to stay an extra year in order to qualify for the internship. So just so you are aware, if you are studying on visa in the United States, and I am not a lawyer, I'm not an immigration attorney, so everything that I say, please confirm with any, documents that you have. But typically, if you're studying in the United States, you cannot become employed off campus before your 1-year mark or your 2-semester mark is up, right? And so we'd have to extend the program by an extra year and make you pay an extra year's worth of tuition in order for you to go and get an off-campus internship. Instead, we've crafted internship level experiences through the practicum that keep you paying less, here for a lower amount of time, but still getting the same value and benefit. Now, our salaries are also similarly high. I mean, our average base salary is in the $92,000 range, with our high base salaries up to upwards of $160,000. One thing that I want you to understand about the way that these job salaries look, and why when you're approaching schools and looking at schools, if anybody tells you these are the salaries without describing what I'm about to describe, you should be a little bit cautious about it. In the United States, different cities in different states have different costs of living. So for example, in Buffalo, where we are right now, a salary at $92,000 a year, you will be living pretty large here, right? If it's just you and you're just getting, like, this is a really, really, really great salary for Buffalo. However, not such a great salary if you're living in San Francisco, California, because the cost of living is so much higher, right? And so one thing that you'll really want to dive into, right, as you go through this, is what are the average salaries in the regions that you're going through, right? And where do you want to be, right? When you graduate, where do you want to be in the US? Do you want to be in a major city? Do you want to be in California? Do you want to be in New York City? Do you want to be in Austin, Texas? Well, then the cost of living is higher, and therefore you should expect that your salary that you would target would be higher, right? Whereas if you're looking at other cities like Buffalo, or there are tons of cities, right, that you can work in, right? Then even lower salaries, right, will be really, really, really excellent in terms of the purchasing power that you get out of them. So don't just look at raw salaries as any measure of indication, kind of the outcomes of that. And if you needed like a breakdown of different salaries for different regions, that's where our Career Resource Center comes in. And once you're into the ecosystem, we set up time with them and we kind of discuss these sorts of things. And so, tying it all together, because I've talked way too much, sky's the limit in terms of what you want to do, industries you want to go into, job titles that you're targeting in different types of roles. But also, we're seeing really, really strong job outcomes for our international student population, even in years like 2023, where there were no strong job outcomes because of the layoffs.
Thanks so much, Professor Sellitto. So with that, we're almost through our slide deck. So hold on just a little bit longer and we'll get to your questions. But we have application deadlines of January 15th, so it's coming up. And then also a final deadline for international applicants is March 1st. So really keep those 2 dates in mind. That corresponds to decision notification dates, and then also when your $500 tuition deposit is due. Admissions requirements, it's an online application. You'll pay a $100 application fee. You'll upload transcripts. Now you can upload copies of transcripts and mark sheets for admissions consideration. You'll also have to upload your resume. Please be sure that you're including a resume. Look at that CRC template. It's really helpful. that lists job functions and job responsibilities from, a starting month to year to an ending month to year. And then obviously if you're in a current role, it would be starting month year to present. You'll upload a personal statement. Please be sure within your personal statements, I know there's AI and that's great. Use it wisely. We really want to make sure that, we're learning more about you within your personal statement. So tell us more about you and what your short-term and long-term career goals are and how the MSBA program will help get you there. And we're test optional, so you can upload a GMAT or GRE score report if you've taken it and you have a strong score, but you're definitely not required to do so. Additional steps for international applicants, obviously you have to be eligible for graduate admissions, meaning that you have to have earned the equivalent of a US bachelor's degree. For English language proficiency, you can upload a TOEFL, IELTS, Duolingo score report, Pearson Test of English. If you haven't taken that, you also have the opportunity to interview with somebody on our team. So once you've submitted all the other required documents, if you haven't uploaded an English language proficiency exam, we'll contact you to schedule that English interview. You also want to upload a proof of degree or professional certificate, your passport photo page, because we want to make sure your application matches the name on your passport. And then you'll upload the UB financial form and supporting financial documentation. Please note, the financial form and supporting financial documentation are not required for admissions consideration. You can upload those now, but you'll definitely want to upload those after you receive an admissions decision. Also, we do not require a WES or ECE, any kind of evaluation. We have an in-house processing staff. So if you have it, you can upload it in addition to transcripts, but it's not required. So as we talk about tuition fees, again, the University of Buffalo is ranked one of the 25 most affordable universities in the US by Credit Summit. As Professor Sellitto mentioned, we have a very low cost of living in Western New York. There's assistantship opportunities on campus, and you also have access to 2 career centers. So as we look at what the Futurense tuition would be, you're transferring in 6 credits from IAM, and then you're taking 12 credits here in the fall and 12 credits in the spring. So the estimated total program cost is $29,187. This is based on tuition rates for fall 2024. The university updates these tuition rates every July, so there may be a change in July 2025, but this is the most current information that we have. Additionally, living expenses are estimated at around $22,000, but actual cost is usually much less based on housing accommodation choice. So at this point, I want to take your questions, but before we go, there's lots of ways to stay engaged with us, so feel free to scan this code and figure out additional ways to connect with us. But with that, I'm going to stop sharing and open it up for any questions. So Magna, do you want to address any questions?
So sorry. First, I'll address the questions that are published in this webinar, and then if there's additional questions that I have and haven't been answered by you all, we can get to that. Firstly, the first question asked by the candidate is Priya G. She's asking, has it been a smooth road getting to the US through Futurense? Any advice you'd like to give that will help me prepare for this, or is there anything you'd like to do differently?
So let me just reread the question so that I don't miss any part of it. Okay, yes, the journey was super smooth. Like I've said this a lot of times in my previous records and anywhere, but with Futurense, again, you're saving a lot of costs. That is number one. Because whenever we think of international studies, the first thing that comes to our mind is the like the cost we're going to incur during the like course of or the tenure of a study. So definitely cost is number one. Number two, the assistantship provided on any level, like be it the submission of the forms, be it the visa assistance or anything, like prepare, they actually help you from the scratch. They will help you figuring out the submission of the forms, figuring the deposit fees and everything till the date you get your visa. So everything is there. And even in between, if you need any assistance with the accommodation, the SIM cards when you land in US, everything is taken care by them. So yes, the only thing I can suggest or recommend to be prepared is your paperwork. You should be level up your game with your all the academic records, your financial documents and everything. Obviously, these guys are going to help you. So there is nothing else that can be different, like that can be done differently because they are already doing it too good. So yeah. I hope I answered the question. Is if there is any particular part of it, then you may drop it or just raise your hand.
So next question is by Subhashish. He's asking, are there any internships? If yes, what kind of projects?
Yeah.
Uh,
As I mentioned, because of the short timeline of the program and the lack of internships post 2021, post pandemic here, we shifted to the practicum. And the types of projects are, all over the place, right? Like I mentioned, the one who there's, the financial ones that folks do that are like more stock market analysis and prediction. There are marketing based ones. There are supply chain optimization problems that students tackle. There are experiential projects like working with a TV broadcasting network and a radio broadcasting network. There are AI projects. The sky's the limit, really, in terms of the projects that you want to complete during that. And our goal for the practicum is to provide you internship level or internship like experience without having to keep you here for another year, in order to kind of support that, and run the risk of you having to go and find your own internship there. So I think hopefully that answers that particular question there.
Next question is about the MBA program, but are these companies located in Buffalo? I think they've mentioned about the career assistance slide that you've talked about. So they've asked if these companies are located in Buffalo.
Some, but our career placement is national and international. So if you go to the Career Resource Center website, again, it'll be updated at the end of January, but you can see where our students are getting jobs. So they're absolutely getting jobs outside of Buffalo.
Yeah, it really just depends, right, where they want to go. We've got students. I just talked to a former student who's down in Texas, students in California, students in Colorado, students in New York City, students down in North Carolina and Virginia. There are jobs all over the place. It just really depends on what job you find and or where you want to wind up. And that's one of the things that we recommend students explore once they arrive here is, well, where do you want to go? And to start kind of crafting in those moves to kind of get you there.
Next question is about the visa approval rates. It's more like a statement though. What about very low visa approval ratio by US Embassy during December?
We haven't been hearing a lot of visa rejections at this point. Again, Tanya talked about her experience, but I would say, the earlier, if you're admitted, the earlier you can get in your immigration materials, like your UB financial form, financial supporting documents. Our team works really quickly to then forward to the Office of International Admissions. They work quickly to get the I-20 issued. We have a great video on our website, but realistically, if a student is admitted and uploads their I-20 materials, within 2 weeks, they'll get their UB person number to pay their deposit. But then 2 weeks from there, or a total of 4 weeks, they'll get their I-20. So it's really in your control when you're, submitting your documents, but that's kind of the timeline on our end. But as of now, we're not hearing about visas being rejected.
I would like to add something to Meghan's answer. So, Futurense helps you in the preparation for visa as well. Be it the mock interviews or the documents lists and all. I know it's a very complicated journey, and I personally was helped with a lot of things in the visa process. I had almost 10 mock interviews with the visa experts of Futurense team, and what does that is that it boosts your confidence, improves your body language. You will get feedbacks for every mock, and so you keep improving. So I'm sure that you will hear from your coaches about the visa process.
Next question is by Pratik. He's a candidate who already got his offer letter, I guess. He's asking where are the links to apply to UB scholarship and assistantship. We can mail that to you, or we can share it in the chats here.
So what I can tell you is that our scholarships are merit-based. So anything you submitted during the application process or with your application is considered for merit-based scholarships. Just please be advised, we have a very competitive applicant pool, so it's a competitive process. From an assistantship perspective, students that are admitted, once they confirm and pay their deposit, they have access to search assistantship and on-campus employment opportunities through UB's Career Design Center. So in the admitted student portal, at the bottom right, there's a list of, it's a blue box, helpful resources. So there's a lot of great links in terms of kind of next steps after you've been admitted to the University of Buffalo, including the link to apply for assistantships and on-campus employment. And more positions are posted as we approach the summer semester and then moving into the fall semester.
The next question is by Shailendra. He's asking, how does this program help save money? And what makes this pathway program different from others? So first question has been addressed by Tanveer and Tanya a few times. But what sets us apart? Would you like to answer that?
I can do that. So I'm just going to try and bucket it all together, right? For sake of just reiterating and kind of answering some of the problems. How does the program help to save money? You know, I think I want to channel Meghan here for a moment. You know, any master's program that you kind of decide to go to spend the time is an investment, both in terms of time and money. You know, one of the things that the State University of New York does, right, is they have comparatively, right, and you can look these up. These are public figures, right, on all the websites for different types of institutions you might be studying at. But the State University of New York has pretty competitive tuition rates, right? And so from a cost perspective, it's not private school tuition, right? That doesn't mean that it's you know, free, but you know, keep in mind that it is definitely lower cost than a lot of our kind of competitor or peer kind of schools. And that tuition is controlled by New York State and meant to be like that, to support use cases and to help students kind of make that transition and that journey. Buffalo is a relatively, comparatively to something like New York City or Boston, a lower cost city to live in. I can't necessarily comment on the current sort of student situations in terms of where they're living and things like that, and kind of how they found those. But I do know that our students, especially our student ambassadors and stuff, are more than happy to talk to you about their journey of finding affordable living and things like that. And kind of some of the tips and tricks that they have in order to kind of make the most out of every dollar that they have here. So that's that. How is our program different from other programs? Listen, like at the end of the day, when we built this program and I started kind of being the director of it, I had really one major goal, right? And that goal was to make this program and the curriculum affiliated with it and the experiences affiliated with it as on-the-job training like as possible, right? You know, so much so that most of our classes and many of our classes, we've done away with even textbooks, because at the end of the day, I'd rather you not read about it. I'd rather you do it, right? And so at the end of the day, our focus on getting you hands-on, getting you practical experience with projects you can put on, you know, your CV or a portfolio or heck, your GitHub page or whatever that is, right, is what the goal is, right? And one of the ways we're definitely, even on paper, differentiated, you can see in the curriculum, is the sheer volume of applied domain opportunities that we have, from cybersecurity to people analytics to sports analytics to marketing and finance and all of that, right, kind of packed in, gives you more opportunities, at least from my perspective, more opportunities to engage with the industries you want to work in, specifically from a data perspective, than a lot of our competitor programs. But again, that's something you should judge for yourself. At the end of the day, like I said, it's an investment, right? And I want you guys to take the time to look at that and find what works for you, because what I say is a competitive advantage, you may find something completely different, because everybody's different, and what matters matters to you and what you want to engage with and how you best engage with your studies is going to be different, right? So keep that in mind. I do want to bookend that by answering two more of the questions that are here really quickly, because it's about the prerequisites. So it says, what's the criteria for CGPA and work experience? And then there's another question that I'm going to bucket into that about mathematics and statistics knowledge. One, I think Tanya put it very well in that you don't need, there is no expectation of prior knowledge in topic areas. Do I expect you to know some math? Yeah, like maybe adding numbers together and subtracting and multiplying and dividing, but I'm not expecting you, and the program isn't expecting you to come in with an advanced or more expert level statistical knowledge. And part of that is because we teach it to you here. And some of you might be on the call thinking, I'm already an expert in statistics. That sucks. Don't worry, right? Each class like those is designed to say, are you an expert or are you a beginner? And how can we help you regardless of where you are? We meet you where you're at, as we say, or we try to as best as we can. So we don't leave you behind, right? But we also can always provide you more if you're already at that level and you want a bigger challenge, right? To try and bring everybody to the same level by the time we hit graduation. The same thing is true for our CGPA and work experience requirements. Our admissions process is holistic, right? We don't just look at work experience. We've got students with 0 years of experience all the way up to 20 years of experience and beyond. We've got students that have 4.0 CGPAs down, right? What matters is that whole package. And Meghan had mentioned this about the personal statements. Look, I'm an assistant director of our Center for AI Business Innovation. You will find very few people at the university as evangelistic about AI as I am. However, please actually write your personal statements. Don't use AI on them. Even if you think your verbiage is not as good or your sentence structure isn't, don't worry about it. What I want to know when I'm looking at your application is, who are you and why is this going to benefit you? Because that's a huge component of it, alongside CGPA, alongside work experience, alongside the projects you put on your resume, alongside individual classes. And so at the end of the day, there is no minimum, right? So do as much as you can and make sure it represents you and not as an AI language model. Here is a personal statement that you can do. I am a highly motivated self-starter that blah, 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 blah. Oh my gosh, excite me. Tell me why you're passionate about this. That's what I want to see. So hopefully that answers a couple of those built in.
Yeah, that has been extremely helpful and insightful. But we will end this session today here because everyone has prior commitments. So we are very glad that you all attended this session. And I hope you really gained some insights on how the whole process is and how your life at UB will be. So thank you so much. Thank you all. Thank you, Dominic. Thank you, Meghan.